Welcome back. So today we are going to talk about um, if loops. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of all of this jazz from last time, and I'm going to go back over to our text file, and going to make myself some space here, and um, talk about if loops. So basically, if loops, the entire structure of an if loop is basically if, and then there's going to be some conditional statement right here, right? And then an open curly brace, some code right here, and then there's going to be obviously the end curly brace, and then after this there's going to be an else statement. So else, and then open curly brace, and then code with your closing curly brace. Now this else statement isn't necessary, but usually it makes sense to have one. Also, you don't always need an else after an if, so you could have like if, open close parentheses, code, right, and then another if, yeah, blank blank blank, yada yada yada, etc. And then you could have one final else. But for today's lesson, we're just going to go over one if and one else, and that's about it. So I'm going to talk about what a conditional statement is. So a conditional statement basically evaluates to a boolean. So this is basically equal to a boolean, right? So what's an example of a conditional statement? An example would be 2 is equal to 3, right? Obviously, you know that 2 isn't equal to 3, therefore, this would evaluate to false. Now, another one would be comparing whether or not 9 is greater than 7, right? Like, for example, or is it the other way around? So these are all conditional statements, and they have to evaluate to true or false. So let's try an if loop right here, and I'm gonna make it a really simple one. I'm just gonna have, for example, if 2 is equal to 3. So in computer science, you don't write just one equals because that's setting a variable equal to something else. In this case, we're comparing two numbers, so it would be equal 3, and then I'm gonna open close parentheses or curly braces, and be sure to tag the end of the if loop so you don't get confused with the rest of your curly braces. And I'm just going to have a simple print statement that says system.out.print ln, and it's just going to say whoa, because it's kind of absurd. Now what we're going to have after this curly brace is an else statement, else, and we don't have a conditional statement for the else because we obviously know if it doesn't go into this section, it's going to have to go down to this section. And so we don't need a conditional because if it doesn't work here, it's automatically going to come down here. Now we're just going to print, for example, let's just print, okay, I knew that because, we probably should. 2 is not equal to 3. So now let's just run this code and see what the output is. It's building, and let's see. So it says, okay, I already knew that. And you can see why this happened. If we go up here to the actual code, we can see that 2 is not equal to 3. And it's basically saying if 2 is equal to 3, then go down to this line and do this code. Else, meaning it's not equal to that, else meaning this statement is not true, do this code, right? And we obviously know 2 is not equal to 3. So I obviously went down here and say, okay, I knew that. That makes sense. Now, what if we want to do it the other way? What if we want to have a print, have this print if this area is false? Because in this case, it's saying if 2 is equal to 3, print this out. It will never evaluate to true. So the way that we can do this is we can put another set of parentheses around the 2 is equal to 3 part, and then go ahead in front of the second set of parentheses and put an exclamation point. So exclamation point basically means not. Okay, so it basically does the opposite. So 2 is not equal to 3. Well, not times not, if you think about it like that, is going to be true. So in theory, it should print out this whoa. Now let's see if that works out. And here we are. It has printed out whoa. So now you understand that, yeah, 2 is not equal to 3. But when I put that exclamation in front of it, it's basically saying, if 2 is not equal to 3, print out whoa. And yes, 2 is not equal to 3, right? And that's why we did not go into this if case, or this else case, excuse me. So that's basically the idea of if loops. Another way to check if loops is by checking strings. So I'm going to have two strings here. I'm going to set up two strings. I'm going to have string 1 is equal to hello, right? And then string 2 is going to be equal to hi. Okay, and instead of this 2, 3 stuff, what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the two strings. So normally you would think that we're going to write 1 equal 2. Now, this is one way to write it. However, this way in Java is incorrect. It will work, but it looks ugly, and that's just not how Java is written. So the way that it's actually written is 1, so whichever one you want to have first, dot equals, and then in parentheses 2. So this is how you compare two strings, right? And we're going to see, and again, hello is not equal to hi. They're not the same thing. So in theory, it should print out, okay, I knew that. Now let's go over, print it, and see what happens. Once it builds, yeah, it says, okay, I knew that. And you know that these two are not the same thing. Now let's go over here and replace this hi with hello. Now let's see if the code will give us anything different. Is hello equal to hello? Yes, it is. And that's why we got whoa. So basically, if loops or if checks are basically one way to continue code if you want it to go one way or the other by using boolean or conditional statements. That's all for this time. Thank you and stay tuned.